Okay, hey everyone. So this lesson is going to be about specific heat calculations. We started this page last week, and you will need this paper because we are going to do math that is on the other side. If you do not have this paper, please ask the substitute for a copy. I'm going to go over this side of the page just in case so that you can have the notes filled in. So our formula is Q equals M times C times delta T. So let's fill out what each letter means. The letter Q stands for heat. Sometimes it just says energy. We will measure Q in J, which stands for joules. M stands for mass, and we measure it in G for grams. C is specific heat, and the unit is very long. It is J/G degrees C. So joules per gram degrees C. Delta T, this delta sign means change in. And the T stands for temperature. So delta T stands for change in temperature. We measure temperature. The unit is degrees C or Celsius. This part down here is really important, this little note. It says, note, change in temperature equals final temperature minus initial temperature. The word initial, this means starting temperature. I will show you what that looks like in just a moment. Sometimes the problem will ask you to find something different. So if you want to solve for mass, so if the problem says, what is the mass? The formula will be M equals Q divided by C times delta T. If the problem says, what is the specific heat? We will find C. So C equals Q divided by M delta T. If the problem says, what is the change in temperature? We will use delta T equals Q over MC. Now let's take a look at the back for some practice problems. Okay, so here are our practice problems. You need a calculator. Your phone, that will be okay. Okay, so let's go and underline the important information so I can show you how to do this math. Number 1 says, water that has a specific heat of 4.184 joules per grams degree C, increases in temperature from 30 degrees to 95 degrees. If the mass of water is 2,000 grams, how much energy does this take? So I will underline 4.184 joules per gram degree C. I will underline 30 degrees Celsius to 95 degrees Celsius. And I will underline the mass of water is 2,000 grams. Then it says, how much energy? So what I like to do is put the letter for each thing above what is listed. So the 4.184 joules per gram degree C that's right here, that is going to be a specific heat. So this is C. Then it says it increases in temperature from 30 degrees, that's our initial temperature, to 95 degrees, that is our final temperature. And then the mass of water, so this is M, and we want to find Q. So Q equals, we don't know, M is 2,000 grams. C is 4.184 joules per gram degrees C. And delta T, I put this on the top of my paper. Delta T equals final minus initial. So our final temperature was 95 and our initial temperature was 30. Now we put it in our formula. We want to find Q, so we will use Q equals MC delta T. M is 2,000. C is 4.184. And delta T is 95 minus 30. When you put this in the calculator, it's very important to use parentheses. So please use the Desmos calculator. Okay, when we put it in the calculator, we will get 543,920. So that is 543,920. And because we found Q, we will put J for joules. And that is our answer. Let's try number 2. The mercury in a thermometer goes from 10 degrees Celsius to 14 degrees Celsius. If the thermometer contains 35 grams of mercury, how much heat was absorbed? Okay, so C, this is C right here. The temperature goes from 10 to 14 degrees. If the thermometer contains 35 grams, how much heat? Okay, so we have C. The 10 to 14 degrees is delta T. 35 grams is M for mass. And it says how much heat. So we will find Q. So we don't know Q. Mass is 35 grams. C is 0.140. And delta T, remember, final minus initial. So if it says from 10 degrees to 14, this is our initial, our starting, and this is our final temperature. So delta T is 14 minus 10. We will use Q equals MC delta T. So the mass is 35. C is 0.140. And delta T is 14 minus 10. Pause the video and use the Desmos calculator to calculate your answer. The answer is 19.6 J, or joules. The other problems on this paper want us to find something other than Q. So, number 3 says, a carbon rod is hooked up to electrodes and a battery. When current passes through it, the temperature increases by 17 degrees C. If carbon has a specific heat of, what is the mass? So, your paper also has another number in here, and it says when 151 joules of heat. This number is important. 151 J, that is Q. Then it says the temperature increases by 17 degrees C. So our delta T is 17 degrees. Specific heat and it says what is the mass. So we will use mass equals Q divided by C times delta T. So let's plug in our numbers. 151 divided by 0.709 times 17. Please use Desmos. Pause the video and calculate this on the Desmos calculator. Our answer is 12.5 grams. Number 4, a doctor uses 13 grams, that's mass, of aluminum to listen to your heart. If it takes 128 joules of heat, so that's Q, to go from 25 degrees to 36 degrees, what is the specific heat? So we will find C. Our Q was 128 joules. Our mass was 13 grams. And delta T, this is our starting, our initial, and this is our final. So 36 minus 25. Because we want to find specific heat, we will use C equals Q divided by M times delta T. So let's plug it in. 128 on the top. The mass was 13, and delta T was 36 minus 25. Please pause the video and use the Desmos calculator to find the answer. Your answer should be 1.1, and the unit for specific heat is J/grams degrees C. We have one more problem. Number 5 says a 35 gram, that's mass, gold ring with a specific heat, so that's C, is thrown into the fire. It takes 1,680 joules, that's Q, to heat it up. What is the change in temperature? So we want to find delta T. Our Q was 1680. Our mass was 35 grams. And our specific heat is 0.129 J/grams degrees C. Because we want to find delta T, we will use Q divided by M times C. Let's fill in our numbers. Q was 1680. M was 35. And C was 0.129. Please pause the video and use the Desmos calculator to find your answer. Your answer should be 372 degrees C. We will do some practice on Monday with this math. Thank you for watching.